Howdy.
George.
Hi, George.
Hi. Hope I'm all good now.
Yes, all good.
Yeah, all good. It works perfectly, so we can start. Yeah, so it's recorded, so you will be able to share it with others after the event. But yeah, thank you very much, George, for being there for feedback. Thank you, Oluseye, for also being there. And the goal is to, I'll let you also run it the way you want. But the goal, mostly from the question people were having before it, is like, what's the Safaricom journey? How did it start? What was the business case? How culturally you were able to involve people into APIs? How do you discover APG? Where APG works really well? Where APG is going, to match your requirements. And yes, and then we will be able to still continue to open questions. But just to say, this is a little bit like what has been around for the questions. I'll
Yeah.
let you say it the way you want, but yeah, just wanted also to share it with people listening.
Thank you. So do I just kick off? So my name's George Juguna. I'm the CIO of Safaricom. Safaricom is a young company, about 22 years now, but very successful, an $11 billion company. But also we pride ourselves to say we're the home of mobile money, and we've hosted and received delegations from big tech and people all around the world. And as much as Kenya may be known for athletics and marathons, we also say we're known for mobile money and M-Pesa. We started this journey slightly over 15 years ago. So M-Pesa turned 15 years just in March this year. But we've seen it be very successful to become the predominant financial service in our country, but also in Tanzania and Mozambique and several other countries that we've entered as part of M-Pesa Africa. On average, we do, just to give context, about 60 million transactions a day. If you're trying to debate, that's actually more than what PayPal does. And I guess who we're looking to compete with is the global players like Visa in terms of how much they transact. But in terms of mobile financial services, the largest globally. And one of the things that we found most interesting and how we got here was that prior to 2017, the whole journey of integrating to our core platform was so tedious, and it pretty much it was a project. And so around 2015, 2016, we started looking at the next evolution of mobile money platform, and that's how we landed on Apigee. And it's been amazing since then in terms of how it's scaled. We have about 52,000 developers and 38,000 organizations, and do about 2 billion transactions a month, really running on this, or I'd call it API requests, with over 100 already published on it. So it's been quite a journey. The scale is big. Sometimes it becomes scary for me when I realize what we're running. But one thing you have is a very stable platform, a platform that is world class in what it's able to do. But if you think about the people who are on it, the people who are using the traditional integrations, you see a lot of the benefits that they're able to pick up. And maybe in the course of this conversation, I can talk about. But I just want to introduce Safaricom and M-Pesa. I know this is a global audience, and some people may not have heard it firsthand. So I think Mehdi, my view was just to give a quick intro.
Yeah, thanks, George. I think, yes, many people within Africa are familiar with M-Pesa and the successes of M-Pesa, but thank you for that introduction. Just quick one. How has the API program and Apigee by extension really helped you with partner onboarding, developer onboarding, and overall, how has Google Apigee helped in your journey so far?
So what we're hearing from a lot of our developers is we moved from it taking 2 to 3 days for API integrations to 3 days, and all automated all the way to go live. They really like the the programming code samples that we've put and the code simulator, which really simplifies the integration. But I think bigger thing is just the new revenue streams that people are able to develop by being on the platform, and then really accelerating what a lot of organizations were looking to in terms of digital channels and digital transformation, where sometimes building their channel took them a year. APIs into our mobile money platform took them 3 days. So they probably thought the project would take a year and a half, but they spend over 99% on everything else. And then the integration to M-Pesa is really the easiest part of the process. So what it does for us, it brings a lot more people in, and we don't have to grow our developers internally to onboard developers. But all of a sudden, every single day, I'm seeing a new organization, new revenue, new transactions coming in. And initially, it wasn't one of the places where I would monitor the TPS, the transactions per second. But now I have to monitor it because and trend the growth. Because if I don't look at it, it can actually cause our whole platform to have constraints, which it's never done. But quite exciting, whether it's banks, it's supermarkets, whether it's manufacturing, whether it's people who run e-commerce and online business, checkouts off of various digital platforms. They're really able to be certain that the payment component of their journey is the easiest because of Apigee.
Absolutely. I like that you mentioned TPS and the throughput and the performance of your system. Are there any other vital and important metrics that you consider are sort of non-negotiable when it comes to ensuring the success of your API program and M-Pesa as a whole?
I think availability is important. I have to deliver nines. And initially, the core platform is where we focused, and we realized we also need to focus on the ecosystem. Initially, when it was just P2P and some just B2C, C2B only, the core platform, as long as it worked, that was fine, because all of that was telco infrastructure integrating to mobile money. The moment we start doing APIs, it becomes important to make sure the whole ecosystem is working and working well. And so availability, so I always talk about, I need to be always on and always secure.
Absolutely.
The other thing that needs to be, and I'm happy about the sessions I hold quarterly with developers, is how easy was it? And I love it when they benchmark me with Facebook, with PayPal. And I've been tagged on Twitter, on LinkedIn, and people say it took us this long with you, it takes us easy with these guys, and this is what you can do. And many of the times we look internally and then talk with the Apigee team and say, you know what, this is good feedback. And this year, last year, we started a next evolution phase, and where we now look at the quality of our documentation. We now have an NPS for the developers, the Net Promoter Score. How much do they like it? And then how easy was it? How fast was it? How many times did they maybe have to call someone for assistance or not? So I think the experience part for me is extremely important, because if they're having a challenge getting on, that means there's a delay of revenue on their side, and we are also not able to monetize our product, services, and APIs as well.
Yeah. Mehdi, should we move to the questions from the audience?
Yeah, we can go. So the question on the audience there are really two topics that really people I think are interested are high performance and security. You say that you run more transactions than PayPal, so at least worldwide, that really means something. Yes, but how are you able to achieve such a scale of transactions, right? Like how did you, let's say, engineer the architecture, and how APIs and API architecture has been part of it?
No, thanks for that. So I think one of the things we like to do, I always tell the team, we need to operate on a capacity that's always about 60% below. I think we operate across 3 different sites in terms of Sorry, I thought I dropped off. Operate across 3 different sites. But one of the things we always do is really an alignment in terms of capacity and working with our key suppliers, including Apigee, to say this is where we're looking. In the initial days, I mean, to be honest, and I see it in some of the new practices, we're trying to do 100 transactions per second. We're talking about 3,500. So how do you forecast that? We have very advanced monitoring, deployment of machine learning and AI that begin to tell us when there's a significant deviation in the trend compared to what we do, and even dynamic allocation through AI of capacity. So really bringing the big data capabilities was important, having the advanced monitoring capabilities as well. But I think every single year we have major architecture reviews. The API side, I think, is what's easy because we actually say, hey, if we got 52,000 developers, what would happen when we go to 100,000? And what do we need to have there? So I think it's really, then when you look at it from an Best Africa perspective, it's really ensuring that if we've built something for one market, it's available in other markets. So the importance of cloud and microservices becomes important. So people can connect to what sometimes we call our transformation or innovation layer, and they're able to consume all the microservices that APIs that we've been able to develop. So a lot less impact on the core. The core has less changes and stable, but as you move up on the architecture layers, a lot more configurability and self-service. But the most that we do is through our Apigee Open API. It's an interesting name we use for it. In Kenya, we call it Daraja. Daraja is a Swahili word that means bridge.
Right.
And so what we say is that we're actually bridging, and I think we're connecting people to people, people to business, business to opportunities, and opening new doors. So the other day, I actually had a very senior executive ask me, what technology is Daraja? And they've never even known there's an Apigee behind it. It's just commonly known as Daraja.
So from a economic perspective, what would you say has been the impact? If you have it, if you don't, it's good. Before and after, before you started implementing an API program using Apigee, and after Apigee, what have you seen has been the sort of the differences between the ability to impact the customer, the developer community as a whole?
You know, one of the most interesting things is recently we deployed a number of fraud prevention APIs. And, you know, that was in realizing, just like in any country, that when you're doing mobile money, people or any money transaction, people are going to be able to want to find a way to hack it or to benefit wrongly. But, you know, the customer trust that has increased by the fraud prevention APIs that we put on Apigee has really helped even banks detect fraud and related incidents and, you know, therefore protect the customers. And I think many times it's very difficult to put a value on customer trust and digital trust. The other piece is really, we've seen businesses streaming up and doing transactions that we didn't know. Almost every fintech that's even getting funding locally or internationally is actually consuming these APIs. So many times we don't even know. It just happens. Some guys will get online overnight, and all of a sudden we start seeing a lot of traffic. And it's quite exciting to enable small and medium enterprises as well to be able to get their products and services and payments quite quickly into the market without having to think about getting the traditional bank stuff like POS machines. And nothing against the bankers, but you know, if a customer has to bring a whole physical device to do things, that's really not enabling e-commerce and small and medium enterprises who end up paying sometimes up to 3 to 5%. So really, we're able to grow financial inclusion. When M-Pesa came into Kenya, we were about financial products penetration was 20%. Now Kenya is 80% upwards, going to 90%. But a lot of the people who then get to innovate and roll out products are not just Safaricom. We actually now have a development team that's way bigger than we could ever be, and also organizations that are consolidated have a much wider reach than we have, and so the overall economy benefits and grows from this platform as well.
So I understand, like, the economic impact of M-Pesa, your program. From the numbers you're saying, that's a lot of transactions, lots of partners, lots of developers, and at the end of that value chain, there's lots of customers and their wallet. How would you say you've tackled security? What are some of the best practices for security? And how would you say Global RPG has really helped you in being able to address those security concerns?
The difference between whether we built or so we got about 30 million active customers, over 30 million in a country with a population of 55 million. So you're almost saying everybody who can do a transaction is on M-Pesa. We push over 50% of our GDP. A large part of our GDP goes through M-Pesa each day. The revenue we make on M-Pesa for our business is $3 million a day. On average. So you really look at it, and we push in transactions, we're talking trillions in terms of value. So security is extremely important. The one thing I like about RPG is there's things I don't need to worry about on it. So you got RPG there. We're definitely going to have our web application firewalls, our intrusion prevention systems. But in terms of a platform, all our assessments that we've done, we've never had a breach coming on there. So I believe the RPG team do a fantastic job of keeping up ahead of the curve in terms of their standards and baselines to ensure that part is secure. So we worry more about the core. So I think when you leverage what a big player is doing and all the learnings and globally the attacks they're seeing, and adapt and adopt and communicate and stay ahead, I think there's a lot of it. But I think security is, you can't underplay it. I think internally as well, we need to look at it. But I think there's a lot less room for errors when you have an open API platform than when you have developers, large engineering teams working on building these each day. When you have one standard service that's being reused, consumed across, then you can actually invest your efforts in one place as opposed to being very distributed. So I think security is the optimum. I mentioned earlier, always on, always secure.
Yeah.
Even if you're on but you're not secure, you need the digital trust. And for majority of Kenyans don't have a bank account. Their bank account is M-Pesa. So we actually have to build as much trust, if not more, than the banks, because we also do a lot more transactions than any bank in the country. Last statistics done is, if M-Pesa alone in Safaricom was to be classified as a bank, it would be the third largest bank in the country. And considering that banks make money from lending and trade and everything else, last year our revenue was $1 billion. So we actually do not want to mess around. It's catastrophic to our economy if we have any breach at all, and even to the consumer trust, perhaps even to internal security and peace in the country.
Thank you so much, George. Thanks a lot for attending this. Mehdi, over to you.
No, yeah, just if we make a small calculation, I think that's approximately $30 per second, I think, of of revenues directly. So yeah, APIs are really key, and any downtime it can cost like significant can be significant in terms of cost, right? So so we had maybe last few other questions about from the audience, mostly for you, Oluseye, but let's say the roadmap of Apigee, or maybe we can talk about like how did you work together about asking features, Apigee building these features, and like how the relationship like vendor user that needs a high scale and high performance has been working so far.
So overall, the product teams at Google and Apigee work closely with customers like Safaricom and M-Pesa and all the global customers we have to get the feedback on what they're using, how they're using the platform, and some of the things within the industry that they essentially want to see within the RPG ecosystem. So things like networking, security has become a big concern. So we've got RPG Sense, it's a refreshed version of that. And we're looking at Cloud Armor, which is one of our products that sits as a web application firewall on top of RPG and fully integrated with our new RPG X platform. So generally, there's a feedback loop between customers using the product and the product and engineering teams building those capabilities out over the time.
Yeah, and a question for you, maybe George, on the roles. So you are the CIO, but like, when did you start to have roles dedicated to APIs? Because on your portal, we see that you have APIs as a product, but do you have any API product managers or API owners, or like how is the hierarchy below you to manage, especially APIs, API performance monitoring, documentation, and stuff like that? Do you have an API, let's say, people stack?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. I think initially it was part of the integration team, but it's grown to its own life. So yes, on the product team, we do have a team that deals with operations and engaging customers, informing them what we have, backed strongly by tech. So we work in an agile way. So we have an API, kind of like a tribe that deals a lot with that. In there, then you also have security, you have regulation. So when we were recently implementing some new data protection and privacy act, we integrated that team into that tribe, and they worked on what's the communication to customers, which APIs do we need, what's the engagement with the regulator. So yes, there is a people stack. It's not very heavy, but there is a people stack indeed, and it's quite a lot of revenue and requests going through here. So it becomes important for us to make sure that that part is managed well.
Yeah. Thank you very much for that question. So maybe we can end by something about George. What can you say? What's next for Safaricom? Do you have any things to announce, or at least a plan to share about like where Safaricom is going? At least, yeah, on the API side, maybe, or other like something you can share with us.
Yeah, so I think in mid July we have a Safaricom Engineering Summit, and I don't want to take their thunder. I think we were working, also engaging the RPG team to be part of it. So we will be launching a number of APIs. I think you're a very good interviewer. You're more than welcome to join them. The weather here, I think, is better than some parts of the world right now. But I think the big thing, we are moving from being a telco to a telco with a fintech to a technology company. So now a lot more leveraging of RPG beyond M-Pesa. We're seeing a lot of it happening in our consumer business space. We're talking about, can we actually offer it as an enterprise capability? We're talking about how much more have we been perhaps using traditional APIs and internally in other parts of our business, and we can actually leverage it. I'm excited about cloud. I call myself a cloud first CIO, and I'm excited about the program we're on with Apigee to move this to cloud. I know I have 6 clusters running across 2 data centers, 6 and 6, and they each have names. Oluseye, I want to forget about that, and I just want to know it's running on cloud.
Yeah.
And I don't need to buy physical infrastructure. So I'm looking forward to us going live with the project we're working on. And now we've told the community, and they're equally pumped up and excited for it.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you, George.
Yeah, thank you, George. And if you invite me to be a moderator at your engineering event, I'll come. So don't. So yeah, but yeah, it would be great to give more visibility to what you are doing. Yeah, thank you very much, George. Thank you, Oluseye, for this testimonial, and to see like, yeah, how a company like Safaricom has been able to be quite young in a space that's really complex, telco, being able to, because of great API shift with a solution like Apigee enabling to scale and to match the point, being able to be a brand loved by developers, attractive for end users.
Yeah.
So now you can capitalize into other business models like fintech-based business models because you're a brand that user love, especially on the M-Pesa network. Thank you, George. Thank you, Oluseye, and see you next time at another API conference.
Thank you very much. Bye.